Here tonight, Bryan Emler, the speech title is Grownups. Grownups, Bryan Emler. Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. Have you ever noticed how grown-ups are really mixed up? Grown-ups do really crazy things, and then they get really mad when us kids do things that are screwed up, and they say we're screwed up. Oh, that's a grown-up word. Messed up. For instance, my mother, every single morning, I would see her get up, and she would get a mirror, and she would find this little thing on her sink, and every morning she would take this, and she would just put things right around her eyes. And I never understood what the purpose of this was, and why she did this, because it kind of made her look like a raccoon. And some days she even looked surprised when she wasn't. But I thought it must be what we're supposed to do, so one day I snuck into my mom's room, and I got this mirror, and I started putting this stuff all over my eyes. And then she came in, and she got really mad. She said, eyeshadow is for grown-ups. Little boys who wear eyeshadow, they become football players. And you don't want to be a football player. So from that day on, I never wore eyeshadow again. Then on summer vacation, I got to go spend one whole week with my grandma. And I noticed every morning I would wake up, their grandma would be in the bathroom. And she had this little tube. And she would put this stuff all around the outside of her mouth. She never put it on her lips, she just kind of put it around her lips. And I could never figure out why. Because my mom, she always put this stuff on her lips. But my grandma, she would just kind of put this all around the outside of her lips. And I assumed it was because this stuff didn't stick to old wrinkly lips. It only stuck to younger lips. So when she put this all on, she kind of looked like a shark. Or kind of like a monkey's butt. Well, that's a grown-up word, more like a monkey's behind. And when Grandma came in and she saw that I had this stuff all over my lips, she got really, really mad. And she said, lipstick is for grown-ups. Little boys who wear lipstick, they grow up to become rock singers. And you don't want to be a rock singer. So I got to thinking, you know, being a boy is really boring. Because the only thing that boys are allowed to wear, that girls aren't allowed to wear, are whiskers. Well, except my grandma, she does have 3 whiskers on her chin. But what's really strange about whiskers is that you spend your whole life trying to get whiskers. You spend your whole life, like 4 years, trying to get whiskers. And then once you get the whiskers, you cut them all off. That seems really silly to me. That's almost like having your tonsils put back in. So I wanted to be a grown-up, so I decided one day I was going to draw some whiskers on. And my dad came in, and he saw that I had all these whiskers drawn on my face. And he got really mad. And he said, whiskers are for grown-ups. Little boys who wear whiskers, they grow up to become bums. And I wasn't really sure what a bum was and if I really wanted to be one. So at nighttime, I would still kind of sneak around and wear whiskers. And then every day, every year, the first day of school, all the other kids, they got to have brand new clothes. And I didn't get to have brand new clothes. I always had to wear hand-me-down clothes, which wouldn't be so bad, except I only have a sister. And so I had to go to school with hand-me-down clothes. And so I asked my mom if I could have new clothes. And she said, no! New clothes are only for grown-ups. Boys who wear new clothes every day, they grow up to become lawyers. And you don't want to be a lawyer. So I never got new clothes. And then one day, I was about, I don't know, 15. And I went to a friend's house. And he had one of those little, I don't know what you call it, a marijuana cigarette. And we smoked this little marijuana cigarette. Yeah, and I got a little mixed up. But it really was no big deal. I didn't see what the big deal about this marijuana cigarette was. The only thing it really did was make me hungry. And then I got really weirded out because when I smoked the cigarette, before I smoked it, I was only 90 pounds. Now look at me. This is the result of a marijuana cigarette. So after I got home, I walked in the house. My dad took one big whiff of the room. And he said, "You've been smoking a marijuana cigarette, haven't you?" And I said, "No," because I was mixed up. And he said, "Yes, you have. Little boys who smoke marijuana cigarettes, they grow up to become the President of the United States. And you don't want to be the President of the United States." And with that, my dad kicked me out of the house. So then I had to live in an alley down the street. And that's where I had to become a grown-up. And I began looking for work. And I couldn't find work. I couldn't find a job. I could find no jobs at all. And then I found in one dumpster this little makeup kit. And I remember everything that all my grown-ups always told me. So one day I put on eyeshadow. And I tried to get a job. And nobody hired me to be a football player. And then I put on some lipstick. And nobody hired me to become a rock star. And then I found this brand new hat in the dumpster. And I wore it. And nobody hired me to become a lawyer. The only thing I had were these whiskers. So I assumed that my grown-up job would be a bum. So I was a professional bum. And I began to think, if only I had a marijuana cigarette, I could be the President of the United States. And if I was the President of the United States, and I could change one thing in the whole wide world, I would change it so I never had to be a grown-up.